The following program is a real estate and mortgage show and does not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Reality Radio 101, its advertisers and sponsors, or its listening audience. Listener discretion is advised. Good evening and welcome to Your Home, Your Money with your hosts Randy and Jackie Rodney right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board, send us an email. Our email address is yourhomeyourmoney101@gmail.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, right to your hosts of Your Home, Your Money, Randy and Jackie Rodney.
Hello, y'all.
Hello, how are you?
We're here.
I'm just trying to get this going here, but I can't get it going.
Well, you should get it going and get it going quick because nobody wants to wait.
No, I can't.
You can't, what?
I can't get the YouTube up.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, nothing to panic with there. So, where are we? We're at the average price in the month of April was the last month. So it was $11.55 last year, and it's $11.07 this year. So it's gone down almost $50,000. The average price from last year to this year. Listen, buyers, you guys, this is, even though prices are high, this is probably one of the best times in history for you because, you know, you got lots of inventory choices. Historically, you've got a great interest rate. It's really unfortunate that the prices are the price that they are, but damn, everything's expensive. Take your family out for dinner, it's $400. It's like, it's insane. We used to be mad when we saw a $150 bill. Now, they give you the bill and you're trying to figure out how you're gonna leave. How are you gonna exit the restaurant with that bill? So then you call up your mortgage broker, ask him if he can give you a quick mortgage on the spot so you can pay for this dinner that you just went out with your family. It's just crazy times. And so last year, April, there was over 7,300 transactions, and this year, 5,600. What does that really mean to you guys? Does it mean anything? Well, what it means, last year was a horrible year. It was one of the worst years on the Toronto Real Estate Board, and this year is worse. So go figure. So it's only worse when we're looking at it, because most of the time we're looking at it through the lens of a seller. And that's what we mean by worse. For buyers, it's actually getting better and better. But for sellers, it's worse. You know, sellers 5 years ago could put their property on the market and get $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 over what they actually ever imagined they were going to get. And, you know, life was good. And today they're just trying to get what they thought they should have got back then, and they can't. And so what some sellers are doing is they're like saying, well, hold on, let me just, you know, if I can't get it now, I'll just wait a little bit and then I'll get it in a little bit. Unfortunately, in a little bit, the prices have gone down. So at 50,000, you're looking at it going down roughly, I don't know, $5,000 a month. And so, that $5,000 isn't really definitive, but it is what it is. But if you think about it, it's going down $5,000, and the sellers are already starting high. Every time they lower their price, they're still not at where the market is, where buyers are willing to pull the trigger and buy the property. And so what sellers are actually ending up doing is that a lot of them have ended up pulling their home off the market because they can't get the money they want now. So they say, okay, well, let me do it in the spring. Let me do it in the fall. Let me do it in the whatever. And what happens is the prices are lower already. And so, yes, while those might be more active times, the fall, the spring, they are more active times, but they're active times at a lower price point. So, nonetheless, sellers are really in a conundrum. If they really want to sell, they have to begin to really look at what the competition is saying, what the solds, and even if your competition is high, okay, and then you can actually think, oh, this is great, my competition is high, I can beat them out. The problem is that buyers aren't willing to go to that low high. And what I mean by that, if the buyers are figuring out that your property is worth 900,000, or they're seeing that neighborhood, and everybody in your neighborhood wants crazy amount of money. They want $1,050,000, 1.1. This is what they want. So even though you would say, oh no, if I list at $1 million, I'm going to get sold. The problem is, and you could be right, but the problem is that the buyers aren't looking at the competition necessarily. They are kind of looking at that to get their bearings, but then they're looking at the solds. And the solds are saying 900 just because your competition saying 1.1. They just say they're all out to lunch. And it's really interesting because buyers are really feeling that they do have a say, and they do. They have a definite say. And we had a seller the other day that said something of this nature. Well, you know what? I'll put my home on the market, and whatever price I put it at, that's the price. And if they don't like it, then they forget it. That's too bad for them. That's the way you negotiate. And I said, oh, okay. Well, if that's the way you negotiate, then you are the winner. You have officially been the highest bidder for your home. And so you get to keep
I
your
always
home.
giggle when
that. But it's the truth. They're
I
the
know
highest
it's
bidder.
the truth. It's
you
just
want 1.1
the way
for your
it
home.
sounds.
Yeah, it's the reality. You don't like to deal in reality. You're all on this mushy stuff, save the frogs and everything. I'm not there. I'm dealing in reality. And if the buyers are saying that the home's worth 900, but you want 1.1 or even $1 million, your home is not going to sell, especially when only 1 in 5 are selling. That means 4 out of 5 aren't, and you position yourself in the position where you're going to be 4 out of the 5. The other thing is also, typically speaking, I would say if you're able to position yourself in such a way that you're the best over all your competition, then it does give you an edge. The only problem is the buyers are looking at the solds. And
Well, that's
if you're-
how they're going to determine what they want to
that-
pay.
Yeah, and just because you're the lowest of the competition, it doesn't mean they're going to buy at that price. They're going to just call up and say, hey, listen, I don't know how you got the $1 million, but I see it's only worth 900 and we'll offer you 850. And that's kind of your home's going to sit. But if you were there priced at the 900 where buyers think that's a great deal, maybe they will fight for that deal because everybody else is out to lunch. And maybe some want to do multiple offers, some don't. A lot of buyers right now are saying, no, deal with that offer first. If it doesn't work out, come to us. But if you're at your price and it's a good price, there's your chance where you can stand. But if you're standing and saying, no, I'm the one that's going to determine what the market price is, then you're just not going to sell. Your property is going to sit there along with all your ideologies. And as my wife doesn't like when I say, you are officially the winner. You have outbid everybody else in the marketplace and you get to keep your home.
Well, the other thing is too, right? When you're constantly marking down the price or whatever, you give the house a stigma.
You do,
Right?
over
So,
time, yeah, it doesn't help.
I mean, realistically, you need to price it where it's going to sell. I mean, yeah, you can try. I've seen some places that have been on the market for a while and they pulled it off where they actually got close to what they wanted. But that's time, right? If you're time sensitive in selling or whatever, then
So I'm not sure what you're saying. Is this a strategy you're advising people on?
no, I'm just
What
saying
is it?
I've seen it happen, but very few where people have sat on the market for like 6 months and all of a sudden they sell for a decent price.
Okay, so
I'm not
what's
saying
the
they sell.
strategy that you're offering?
There's no strategy. I'm just talking. Sorry.
Okay, well, if you can,
Okay.
just help them to understand
I'll read the
market
emails instead.
better.
Oh, okay. Some nasty ones to Randy, so I'm going to enjoy reading that now.
Read those first.
Eric says, "Hey, Randy, what happened to your Leafs? You said they were going to go all the way. You are nuts. We knew it wasn't going to happen. Make good choices, man. You stuck at that.
Yeah,
You
Eric,
suck.
I'm gonna have to say you were right. Yeah.
You suck."
Yeah.
Where am I? Oh,
Yeah.
here we go.
That hurt. That actually hurt bad.
Yeah, and it wasn't like they went out, fighting. They went down with a bang, man. They hit the boom, just like that. Anyways.
It hurt.
Brett, haha. Well, Randy is wrong again. An emailer wrote you last week to say that the Leafs are pathetic and will lose, but Randy stated that they will be going all the way this year to the Stanley Cup. Is Randy ever right about anything? We know Jackie is. Thanks, Brett. I like you.
Okay, Brett, I'll take that. I'll take the hit.
Oh my gosh, everyone is the Leafs. They suck. Karen says, "Hey, Randy, your Leafs suck."
Okay, well, they don't suck. They made it to the second round. They're one of the top 8 teams in the world. Maybe 12 teams in the world.
Gloria
and
says-
they almost made it to the
Sorry.
semifinals. They're almost there.
Oh, Justin
I'm not
Bieber
gonna
is still
hate on
behind
for
them. There
that.
you go. Gloria says it's still too much. I think maybe she's talking about the market, the prices, which I do
It's
agree.
Tough. It's tough.
It's, oh my, what's up there? All right, all kinds of stuff coming up on my computer. Sorry, guys.
Stay focused.
Yeah, I can't. I have
We'll
ADHD. I'm all over the place, man. Oh, Ken says Randy paying for his family dinner.
Oh, washing
He's
the
washing the
dishes.
dishes to pay for our dinner. That's
that the
usually,
truth?
yeah. We're broke realtors over here. Love the show. Tina says, "Hey to the Rodneys. Love the show from Markham, Ontario." Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, Tina.
Cameron, "Hey to you. There's really no real estate news. If you have cash, buy a house. 99% of your listeners do not have any money. Let's talk about something useful like sex." Okay. Is sex really useful though?
Yeah,
Let's
it's-
talk about that, Cameron.
it's a good
Is
thing.
it, or does it just suck time out of your life? Which one is it?
No, it's good exercise. It's a great way to build a deeper relationship.
Oh.
It's a fun thing to do.
Hold on.
Like,
You build a deeper relationship
Yeah.
by having sex and not by communicating and talking on a
that
daily
is-
basis.
That is the most deepest part of your relationship, pretty much. You know, I don't know how you get a bigger connection than that. But what's your bigger connection? We hold hands and
Talking.
talk about what? Politics? What do we talk about? Getting your nails done? What do we talk about? Your hair?
I don't know. What do we talk about? Work all the time? Boring,
I'm
Randy?
just asking you. You're saying that
Boring,
that's the
Randy?
deeper
Let's talk about
relationship.
work all
What
the
part of
time.
it? No, what part of it is the deeper relationship? What is it that we would talk
Communicating.
about? Yes, communicating about what?
About everything. If
About
you
everything.
listen,
That's a lot
people,
of stuff.
Yeah, because if you don't communicate about everything, you know what happens? Usually the wife, when she can't tell you how much she hates you every day, usually it gets built up and built up and built up, and
So
then all of a
communi-
sudden she goes boom.
Okay, so communication is important.
I
is
think
what
it's
you're saying.
extremely
But
important. I think
in-
a lot of people don't talk about things that, whether maybe it is sex they need to talk about. I don't know, but I think a lot of
Definitely.
people just don't
I think
talk
that would deepen the
about
relationship.
anything in a relationship, and then they wonder why all of a sudden they're, everything's falling apart. Well, it's falling apart because you don't talk about anything. All you're doing is having sex. What fun is that?
No, if all you're doing is having sex,
I'm
you're
kidding.
probably having an awesome relationship.
Ooh, yeah, because
Probably.
you know what they say, right? Love alone cannot sustain a relationship.
No, but it's pretty damn good.
Okay, so we got Frank says topics. Hey to the real estate show. The market is crap for us normal folks. Talk sports, music, relationships, food, sex, cars, pets, or anything else. Well, Frank, I can get down with talking about pets. Real
That's
estate.
boring.
Why? Even folks who make 60 or 70 grand can't get a home unless they want to live in the hood.
Well, if you make 60 or 70
Yeah,
grand
'cause
and
why-
you're with someone else who makes 60 or 70 grand, then there you are, close to 140. So you're getting a lot closer to being able to purchase property. You know, hold on. There's too much hate on purchasing property. I'm gonna tell you, you have two paths here. One path, rent for your entire life. At the end of it,
You got nothing.
your landlord, will he give you a watch? I don't think so. I think you get nothing. Or you can buy a house.
Giving you a
and-
Rolex.
And yeah, he's giving you a Rolex. And buy a house and you can, make your payments, fix your fence, your roof, whatever, do your stuff. And at the end of the day, you get a big fat check. Big fat one. Like, I don't know, $1 million, something like that. That would actually be almost cheap in these days, but that's what you get at the end of it. I'm talking about if you make it all the way to the end, not if you get a divorce and you lose your house, lose your job. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if you make it to the end of buying the home and being able to, pay off your mortgage. At the end of it, whatever you bought the house for, it's going to be worth approximately double
Sorry.
in 25 years, typically speaking. That's what happens over the last how many years. It's been different. It's been much higher than that, but let's be conservative. And so it pretty much will double in 25 years. So if you bought it for $500,000, it's worth $1 million. It's paid off for in 25 years. And guess what? So that's just one thing, is the guy who bought versus the guy who didn't, he gets $1 million. The other guy gets nothing. So that's one. But two is, for all you renters out there, and you know just how true this is, you move in, okay, back in the day, our rents were $900. Then it was $1,200. Then it was $1,500. Then it was $2,000. Now it's $2,500. Now it's $3,000. That's the rent. Guess what? The person who bought the mortgage, when you rented, okay, you got $900, or well, let's use today's rents. Today's rents now you got $2,500, but unfortunately to buy you're at $3,500. So you're thinking, oh, I save $1,000. Yeah, you do. You save $1,000 right now for that particular moment in time, but your rent continues to climb. So 10 years later, when they bought that house and there's $3,000 a month they're paying for their, let's call it $50,000, $500,000 home, well, they only owe $400,000 on the home now. And guess what? Their mortgage payments is the same $3,000 or $3,500 that you're now paying 10 years later. You're paying the same as he's paying, but he's got $100,000 also into it. But guess what? 5 years after that or 10 years after that, you're not paying 35 anymore. You're paying 5, and he's still paying 35. So when you look at it long term, the person who purchases is the big winner. But it's not easy to get there. It actually never was, but it's a lot harder now because of the price point. But the interest rates are coming down and they're giving some interesting programs. So there is a way to get into home ownership today. And the thing is if you're looking long term, you are the winner hands down. You're the winner because eventually in the 12-year mark or whatever, half time, you've got 30 to 40% of your mortgage paid off for. So that's one bonus. But you're also paying less in your mortgage payments than the tenant is paying in their rental payments. There's one more thing to look at. So those are two, if you caught them, interesting wins for people who buy. The third one, and yes, I'm a realtor, so I'm a little biased on it, but I'm not biased on it because I'm a realtor. I'm biased on it because of the knowledge that I've gained as a realtor. And so the third one is when you pay right at the beginning, the tenant's paying 25 and you're paying 35, guess what? You're actually paying principal and interest at that point. So your actual rent is not that far off of the tenant's rent and the other portion of its savings because that's being used to pay down your equity. So there's three really great ways to do reasons to buy. And what I will say is anything that I've ever read about rent versus buy, in almost every situation that they've done for rent versus buy, they've kept the whole scenario as a short term and they haven't utilized the equity growth or any of that. And they've taken into account that the person who's renting would take the difference between renting and buying, and they're taking that and they're investing in stocks or something of that nature. And I don't know about you guys, but what happens to the stock market? You go up, it goes up, it goes up, goes up, and then it crashes and you lose 50% or whatever from it. And so a lot of people are afraid of investing. So the whole strategy that they use is some sort of perfect investment strategy that you have to be absolutely amazing or you have to do this special maneuver. And no matter what, you're investing in something else other than yourself and your home. Whereas the homeowner is investing in themselves and their home because they're investing in themselves because they have shelter to live in.
But listen, let's be real about this, okay?
Okay.
I think the way some people think is because if you want to buy a home, you have to give up some stuff, right? I mean, let's be real. You can't be eating out all the time. You can't be going to movies all the time.
This is not even good for
Hold
you.
on. I was quiet. Now you be quiet. So I think a lot of people think, okay, I'll pay X amount rent, and then I don't have to worry about maintenance on a home. I don't have to worry about any of this stuff. I'm going to take that money. I'm going to go on vacation. I'm going to do this, that. But if you just started when you were young and you bought a house, by the time, your kids are a bit grown, whatever, now you're empty nester, you'd have so much equity in that home, you could go and do all those things. But I don't know. I think that's the way some people think.
Well,
but I could be wrong.
so no.
Because
I
it is
think
costly to own a home, but it's worth it in the end. For me, I'm like, you know what? If I die next week, my kids have something. I've left them something that they can either live in, they can sell it and take the equity out. I don't know. That's the way I think. I think at this point in my life, I'm not living for myself.
Instant gratification, I think, is what you're talking about. The world likes instant gratification.
Yeah, we all do.
We want to buy that Rolex, and we want to buy it. We want to have it now, and therefore now we have a big credit card bill. That's pretty much the way in which the average people work.
And the credit cards are designed for the banks to win, not us.
Of course.
So.
Well, with the interest rates, I
So,
mean, if you
yeah.
can pay them off every month, then you're doing good. But if you can't,
Well, you have to
then
pay, I
it's-
think, 10 days before.
It tends to smother you.
Yeah.
So I do agree with what you're saying that some people would rather get that lower rent as opposed to the purchase, and therefore they win now. But the
Yes.
problem is in order to make rent better than owning, you have to gamble in the stock market and get the win there to give you the win, because the renting is going to do nothing for you.
But some
Absolutely
people
nothing.
just
And-
want to sustain life and
But if
enjoy
you're just
life.
sustaining life, then you're going to get bubble gum and flat screen TVs, and at the end of the day, they're not going to be worth anything. 5 years after you buy it, it's worth zero. And so you're not getting anything if that's where your desire is. And I think that we have to allow our children to know that there's more to life than that. You got to do a little bit of the hustle. It's just the way it is. And you know, there is something more magical at eating at home than it is running out to a restaurant. There's something more magical than building your basement theater rather than running to the theater. There's just so much there. I mean, all of the great things. You remember when we
I
started?
don't know. I
what
like
did we
being
do?
home, so.
What did we do? Our
You,
backyard.
what did you do?
Our backyard was an oasis for our kids. We had 12-foot jumpy castles with water spray and slides and all that stuff. We turned our home into the amusement park. We turned our home into the theater. We did everything at home and got to love life that way. And I think that that's the way that you do it. You buy your home and make everything cocoon all around your home. Make everything in your home the lifestyle that you're looking to have. And that's what I see it as. And I think that if you go down the rental route, and so, you know, I can look across all of my friends and it's pretty clear the difference between the ones that chose the home ownership path, the ones that chose the rental path. And guess what? The ones that chose the rental path, their logic was sound. And it is sound. Unfortunately, it's short term. And so, and you can't beat inflation. You just can't beat it because it just happens on its own. If you're going to try to save money, it's got to be conscious effort. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of energy.
Yeah, you
But
can't go buy coffee every day.
But if you're getting inflation on $1 million home at 2% per year, which is what the government likes to guide, over 24 years, now you're talking a great chunk of change that's happening just because you've weathered time. Where you don't get that as the renter, all you get is rent increases. And if you ever have to jump out of that place to go to somewhere bigger, because now you have a family, now you get a bigger jump in the price because that's what people are seeing. So, anyways.
Let's do these couple of emails because they're based around what you're saying. So Tommy says, done. Easier said than done. We have to rent. Hey, when you die, no issues. The family rents a U-Haul, done. Talk food. Irene says, screw them. Hello to real estate. I pay $2,800 a month in rent, no issues. But here's the problem, no down payment. I have about $30,000 saved, and that will get me shit. The bank took a chance on me. I can afford the $3,000 a month mortgage payment. I have great credit, but no down payment. So screw them. One more, and then you can. I know you got
I
something.
wanted to talk to, who was that?
That is Irene. Okay, go ahead then. But there's
No,
somebody
go
else.
ahead.
Donna says, save your breath. I can afford I can afford a large mortgage payment up to $3,500 a month, but I only have about 20 grand in the bank for a deposit. So how does this work? It doesn't. So renting it is. Randy, save your breath. You are preaching to folks that are in my situation. We have a good job, good credit, can pay a mortgage, but no big down payment. So again, talk about other stuff. Donna.
So that was Irene and Dawn. So
Irene and Donna, not Dawn. Donna.
Donna. Irene and Donna. There are programs out there for people in your situation. Now, I'm not saying they're the best programs in the world, but I'll give you an example of one. There is a company that if you have great credit and a job that can support that income, then you could buy a home literally with nothing down, with a 5% down, and they will put in the other 15% plus close, almost 20%, for you to purchase the home. The only problem is because you're putting in 5% and they're putting down 15%, they get a 75% ownership in the house, and you get a 5% ownership in the house. So that's not ideal. However, you can pay them out at any time as times grow. One of the great things about it, so it's got pros and cons. The government had started a program like this, but the government never really does it in such a way that Ontarians can take advantage of it. Maybe British Columbia, maybe some other Saskatchewan,
Small
whatever
places.
places that have Newfoundland have very low price points could utilize it. But there are corporate companies that will do this plan. Now, when they put down their 20% or 15% or whatever you guys work out, because you have a certain amount down, you share the percentage equity in the property based on your deposit. But the good thing about their deposit is it pays down the mortgage, and you don't have to make any payments on that portion. So 20% of 100,000 is 200,000. So if they're putting down 200,000, that 200,000, which would have cost you X amount of dollars, that's, let's say $1,500 roughly, just say $1,500. You don't have to make payments on that $1,500. That's your gift. That's your lower rate. And so there are some pros and some cons to that program. I would honestly say that if home ownership is not possible, then that would be one way to go through it. Another thing is, whereabouts do you live? Because if you live anywhere near the Durham region, you could scoot on over to Oshawa, and there are some $500,000 homes that you only need $25,000 down, and you could start your home ownership journey right there, because both of you said you have 30,000 or more. And so it's a it is possible, but maybe not where you're living or that. But sometimes there's options out there. You just maybe might need to explore them.
So Tim
with a
says,
positive, open mind.
sorry. So Tim says, my thoughts. Randy Rodney. I don't think anyone listening to you tonight would disagree with you. All renters would love to afford a home. We can afford the mortgages, even if high, but the procedure to get a mortgage is fierce. 15, 20, or more percent down depending on the cost of the home. How is it possible for folks in our late 20s, 30s, or in their 40s, it would take them 20 years to save that? If there was a mortgage broker that would give a mortgage with about 30,000 down, tons of folks would buy a house.
Yeah, but you can do that. You can do it with $30,000 down. And listen, I don't know if you guys are aware, but the rules have changed, right? Now you can buy a $1.4999 million home with 10% down. Well, a little less than that, but roughly the 10% down range. You can buy a $500,000 home with 5% down, $25,000. So if you get to $1 million home, you're basically at 7.2%. 7.2 on $1 million is 72,000. So if 72,000 is too much, you got to lower your price point, which means that you can't now live in Pickering. You got to move out to Ajax or Bowmanville or Oshawa. So unfortunately, that's just the way that rolls. That's the way our economy is. It kind of does suck. I agree with you. Okay. My point is not whether you can do it or not. My point is just that there are other options out there that may, if you were to have an open mind and you were thinking more about what you can do as opposed to what you can't do, then there are some possibilities out there. And yeah, that's all I'm saying is, but I do recognize that it's been hard times.
It's not easy. It's not easy keeping a home. Sometimes you wonder how you're going to do it, and other times you are living great. And sometimes, but I don't know. It's like your car breaks down, you find a way to fix it. I don't know.
It's the law of survival.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, the first time we bought a home, we couldn't afford it. I mean, we said, okay, we're going to buy a home because, we decided we were going to be together, so we're going to buy a home. That was the first thing. I forfeited an engagement ring to buy a home. And we said, okay, when we bought the home, we couldn't afford it with just the two of us, remember? We're like, okay, well, we got a little bit of money left over. We'll finish the basement and we'll rent the basement out. And that'll help us pay for it. Well, that didn't happen. It didn't happen even after we bloody sold the house. It still wasn't finished.
12 years later, we did all kinds of renovations,
and then
but not that.
so then his friend and their wife needed a place to stay. We had a big 4-bedroom home. So we're like, okay, and they had little girls, so they came, but that didn't kind of work out. 2 women living together doesn't work. But they left and we
It's
still
not
had
just
the house.
2 women, it's a woman, and anything else doesn't work unless
What?
it's a cat.
Whatever.
Or
If you were
dog.
watching us on YouTube now, you would have saw me slap him in the head. But anyways, and then so they left and it was us again. And somehow we managed to pull it off. We managed to keep the home. We had it for 12 years and then we decided to move a little further. I wasn't liking the area anymore, so we moved a little further east. But I don't know, like when we bought it, there was no way in hell we could afford it, but somehow we figured it out and we did it. So sometimes,
Kinda true.
but I do,
Rose to the occasion.
but I do understand because back then we didn't need these huge 200,000 down payments and that either, right?
You don't need them now either, unless you're buying $1.5 million home. You don't need them. It used to be a year ago that $1 million home you had to have $200,000 down. Now on $1 million home you can have $70,000 down. So it's a 75. The rules have changed, that didn't necessarily, as much as it sounds like it was a better thing. It poses the problem that the market is having. What it's doing is that's the kind of policy that helps buyers to be able to buy, therefore it's creating more demand, therefore it's not allowing the prices to drop as fast as they probably should drop. So it's, so that, something to think about there. It's a little,
Okay.
Go ahead.
And Jim says, Anthony, where's Anthony? Still crying over Trump? I don't know where Anthony is. I called him a
Anthony
couple.
bought a house.
No, I'm joking. I was going to tell a story. I called him a couple weeks ago and I said, "Are you still alive? Are you dead?" It's the time of the year when everybody's kids are extremely busy, right? It's exams. They're finishing up. They're doing dance competitions. Everything is like, it's chaotic. I know when our kids were little. So he bought a home. They moved.
So he's got a lot of work to
so-
do to make the wife happy
yeah.
in the home.
Yeah.
You got to change the
And-
flooring. You got to do this. You got to do that. So he
Oh
really
boy,
doesn't
here
have
we
a lot
go.
of life. It's
Here
true.
we go.
It's true.
Anyways, yeah, so he's really busy with family right now. I miss him too, guys. Trust me, I miss him, but he'll be back soon, he said. So, and now he's preparing. He's a high school teacher, physics, so he's preparing all that. Now he's busy. Okay, Mason for Randy. Randy, upset fan with their bag over their head. Oh my gosh, this is actually at the game. Is this? Mason, is this actually someone at the game? Ashamed Leaf fan. No. Oh my gosh, I hope that's not real.
I don't know why people are hating on the Leafs. They did what they
Because
could.
they're disappointed again. Okay.
Everybody can't be a winner.
I'll change it, Darlene said. Okay, I'll change the subject. This is what we ate for Victoria Barbecue. Holy cow, did you make that, Darlene? Look at those ribs. Oh my gosh.
Why can't you cook like that? Hey, Darlene.
Because I buy the ribs already cooked and then I put them in the air fryer and pretend I cooked them. I'm the person in the movie that buys everything. They come to the door and you're taking it all out and you're putting it in your own dishes so it looks like you cooked.
You used to cook.
I used to cook. I don't have time to cook anymore. I didn't work for a very, very long time. I've only worked now for maybe the last 4 or 5 years.
So we eat a lot of craft dinner now.
Well, we're poor realtors. What do you want?
Kraft dinner, Uncle Ben's rice with some butter and maybe some corn. Or
You
You
know
know-
what? I'll cook for you guys. I'm Italian, raised Italian with a mom from Italy. I love to cook. I'm always making food here, cooking really nice stuff. If you like Italian dishes, I really know how to cook great Italian dishes.
Ooh.
Or I can throw some steaks on, nice potatoes, salad, garlic bread. I'll have you guys over for dinner and cook for you.
That
Dang,
sounds
Gary.
good.
Wow, you're putting me to shame.
No, I love to cook. I'm always cooking. We'll have
Do
Mike
you?
come too,
Nice.
and I'll put out a spread for you. We'll figure it out.
You know what the
Nice.
problem is, Gary?
What's that?
When I was young, I didn't mind cooking, cleaning, doing
Yeah.
all that. But you know what? Now, I'm 56 years old. I do all the prep work. I cook. Everybody eats. Everybody disperses in the house, does whatever they want.
Disperses.
What? What did I say?
Disperses. It's
Disper-
okay.
Anyways,
And they don't clean up or help.
and I'm left to clean up. So
Yeah.
for a woman, when they say like your work's never done, it's true. Like I leave here, I got to go home. I'm going to do laundry or I got to do something. Like, so I mean, but I am starting to cook a little now. But our oldest daughter cooks. She loves to cook too.
Yeah.
So and it's mostly pasta and stuff like Gary's saying. Like that's
yeah.
where Randy's like, I can't eat that. I'm diabetic, but. I don't know. I'm too tired when I get home in the evening.
Well,
Or
you
I'm
know-
on showings in the evening. Like,
Sure. Well, if you guys all like, if you don't want pasta is high in carbs, which turns to sugar, we know that. See, I'm changing the subject. Get it? See, I'm changing the
You
subject.
are.
a little. No, but the bottom line is, if you guys like steaks and stuff like that, grill some beautiful steaks, potatoes, blah blah blah.
Ooh.
We can have it out on the roof terrace overlooking the lake.
I
It's
know.
beautiful. And we can just go from there, and we'll have a good old time, and we'll talk about the real estate market. No, I'm only kidding. So, but we'll figure something out.
Sounds good,
cool,
my
sounds
friend.
good. I
All
can
right.
bring pre-cooked stuff.
Yeah.
I make a mean pepper salad, okay? I
love
make good
that.
salads.
Yeah, you're a good cook.
I
when
make
you
good
can-
salads.
When you make it all, when you're stay at home and that's all you do, then you do a great job of cooking. But
And
now
actually-
that you have to work like a dog, and then it's not so easy.
And,
No.
and we'll have Mike make. I make bread once a week. I
You
make
do?
homemade bread. Yes, I do. And Mike makes homemade bread as well.
What?
Yeah. I have a
Cool.
beautiful bread maker. Sometimes I make it with the bread maker. Sometimes I make it myself, kneading the dough, everything else, and just baking it. So I'm always baking and cooking here, and it's only for one,
Holy cow, dude.
right? And I have a gourmet kitchen too, right? So
Damn.
it's beautiful, right, to cook and everything. So
Yeah. I don't know. Making bread, that's an all-day thing, man, if you make
love
it
it,
yourself.
love it. Yeah, no,
Holy cow.
the yeast to rise, the dough, it takes
Yeah.
hours. But yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Well,
Nice
Ma vedi,
stuff.
Buccina, mangiare, there's always something going on for this category. E Bronte si calmano, con te Randy, go Jackie, come a mangiare, con tu pedicina.
Woo! That's some Italian going on there. I understood
just
some of
said
it.
it. You can look it up.
Mm-hmm.
Here you go. Back to you.
Mason said it is real. That was two people at the Leafs game to put the bag over their head. So they went there thinking that they were going to lose, or did the other side have a smiley face? I don't know. But yeah, okay, that's okay. And Darlene says, Randy, be nice. Yes, I really cooked them.
no, that is sweet, darling.
Those looked good, Darlene.
Yeah, you can invite me over anytime.
Yeah, he doesn't get fed, so
You know, when she cooks the meal and everything, and then she has to end up doing the dishes, it's really not fair. But she's the one that made the mess, so
ouch!
That hurt.
yeah, that even hurt me.
That hurt.
You,
I mean, usually the person who does all that work, cooking, preparing, the other folks pitch in, and they would say, hey, don't worry, we'll do the dishes. Go, ouch.
nope, not happening. Randy is like, when are you going to be finished the dishes? I need my feet rubbed.
Yeah,
Huh?
that sounds about right.
Come sit down. And then I sit down and his legs come up over my lap. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but that's just because we're really close.
Oh, so if we were really close, we should be doing the dishes together.
That's a good point.
That's what you could do instead of sex. Whoever said, let's talk about
Oh,
sex.
yeah.
We could cook and clean together.
Yeah, we could also do the work together.
I told my husband if he helped me with stuff around the house, he'd be getting more, but he doesn't want help, so too bad. That's his fault.
That's when I'm satisfied with how much I'm getting.
So, it's a trade-off.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, but I know it is tough out there. I mean, life is expensive. It's tough. It really
It is hard.
It is hard, but I don't know. We've always thought owning a home is a good thing.
Well, it's just so obvious. It's just even just do the research. Just research the difference between renters and homeowners. Their incomes. The incomes are different. Even jobs, even for corporations, they find that the people who are actually own homes have a higher commitment rate, more
Commitment rate of
longevity,
what?
more longevity
Of what?
with their business.
Oh, with their,
So
I thought you were going to say with their marriage. I'm like, where the hell you get those statistics?
And being married, having children, and owning a house. So you have those three things. You are more attractive to a corporation. It just is. There's a bunch of studies on this, and one of the philosophies as a mortgage agent and as a realtor is to go around to different, like put together a package which you can help people within the corporation to be able to navigate the home ownership path, and the companies will kick in X amount of dollars to help, and then you take those dollars and you make a program out of it. And why the companies would do it is because the stats clearly show that if you're helping your employees to be able to, feed their families, be able to sustain, being able to have a wife, let's say, I don't know about today, but be able to stay home, and for them to be able to have home ownership, the employee, it's not traction, the employee rate that they stay within, attrition rate, that they stay within the company is quite high. And so it's well worth the investment for these corporations. So obviously there's something there. In that case, what it is the employee wants stability for their family. The business has given them stability for the family, trying to root them more within the community, root them more within the area of which they work, and help them to have a better life. And the employees tend to stick around to enjoy that life. And that's just what it is. But I do understand that life is hard, and I mean, it's so sad because
It is. It's very tough.
Coming from where I came from, I can't say I don't have parents. Everybody has parents. I just don't
No,
have
but we
parents.
didn't come from money, that's for sure.
No,
we
didn't
never had
come from-
anybody to help us
But
or,
I came from zero money,
Yeah.
Zero money, no family there to support, nothing. I'm just done with children aid
you
and out in the
had
street.
family support, but they were looking
was
for
it?
you to support them.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny, but it's actually not that funny. But and then yourself also, your family, your brothers they went on and made great careers, but your mother
Yeah,
worked
but
hard,
my mom,
hard
yeah,
to-
my
in order
dad
to-
died when she was pregnant with me, and I was the fifth child. He died by a drunk driver, a car accident, and so it was like we didn't grow up with lots, but I never felt like I didn't have. But I mean, she did everything she could to give us what our friends had, and yeah, all my brothers and my sister left home early when they graduated school, they went away, but, you know, it is what it is, but we
It
didn't
is.
really
It's kind
come.
of weird because now, you know, you feel like when you're talking to people and trying to give them inspiration and you get these kind of comments back, it's almost like people are sort of like looking at you, well, you think you're big or whatever, but it isn't that. It really isn't. I'm not that kind of person.
We're
I'm a very
fortunate.
given
We've been very
person.
fortunate
been
that
very
we've been
lucky,
able
yeah.
to-
Very,
we've
very,
been-
very
yeah,
fortunate.
yeah.
And how can you go through life when you honestly start from zero? There's no inheritance for myself. There was never any of that. There's no support in order to, you know, sustain a job or get a place to live. There's no living in a parent's basement. You're out on the street. It's over. And that's just how life was. And so then you go from there, and at that point, you're kind of quasi homeless, but you have a really strong will, and therefore things happen, opportunities come, because when you're really in survival mode, you see a lot more things as opportunity than when you're in comfort mode. Those opportunities now seem like extra work, but when you're in starvation mode or savage mode, and you're trying to get through life, and you just want, there were times when I actually used to buy clothing that I could wear to work the next day. So
What? You used
I
to
would
what,
buy
sorry?
clothing to wear to work the next day. So I'm not wearing the same clothing because I didn't really have a place to live, and I was popping in and out of places. So I had to grow, and so the only reason I'm saying any of this is because. No, I'm not coming from a position of, oh, this is the way you have to think, and this is that, and I know because I'm great. It's not like that. It's when you're fortunate, and the most fortunate thing that we did in our lives was to purchase a home. If we did not purchase a home, the rest of life is basically surviving, right? The
Yeah,
rest
we
of
did.
life is basically surviving outside of purchasing the home. Is that not true? Kinda?
I don't know. I don't know what you
Maybe
mean.
you don't know.
I don't know what you mean.
What I mean is that if we didn't purchase a home and be able to have equity growth and that behind us, we wouldn't have had anything.
I guess.
Guess. Well, what else would have
Probably
been
would
there?
have had a damn good time. I'm kidding.
Would have what?
I said I probably would have had a damn good time with that
With
money.
what?
I'm
With
kidding.
what money though?
I'm kidding.
No, but I'm trying to figure out what money you're talking about. You're
People
not talking about
always
the
think
equity.
you save money when you pay rent because you don't have all the extra costs. So
but
it
we
was
just
a
talked
joke.
about that.
It was a joke.
Okay.
Ha ha. Anyways,
All right.
Carl
She has
says,
an
hey,
interesting-
hilarious tonight. See?
Yeah.
Hey,
Nah, not
can I
hilarious.
come
That
with you
wasn't
guys
even
to
funny.
your producer's house? I would love a steak with pasta. Love you too, Carl. David says to Jackie, hello to the Randys. Jackie, I'm sorry to hear about your dad. That is so sad, so sorry. Well, thank you. I never
very long
got to
time
meet
ago.
him, so I didn't really know what I was missing, I guess. I don't know, in a way. I don't know, but yeah, it's a bit sad, I guess, but...
Yeah.
Katie says, Randy, I don't think that people think you are like you said, but most folks are realists. They know the hoops and the hassles they would have to go through with the banks and mortgage lenders. Even though they only get a recipe at the end of the month, renting, a lot less hassle. Sure, not a long-term investment, but it is nuts trying to get things together for these banks, etc. So we all appreciate your help, but it's hard for us normal folks. I
So
hear you,
mean-
Katie, honestly.
Well, so I do agree with you that's a possibility, but also feel that if that's the situation, then you may need a credit coach, you may need a financial advisor, you may need a path to ownership. But giving up is not the answer. My wife was making a joke of the situation. She couldn't answer it, but I don't even understand that because we wouldn't have had anything if we didn't purchase a home. So that was life. Like outside of equity money that was made, our lives were pretty much just sustaining themselves.
Yes, but
it's
hold
not like
on.
I can have this conversation with my wife and get a real conversation. She's
Okay.
going to
So
say
here's
all
the
these
thing.
crazy
Here's
things.
the other thing that we did, how we saved ourselves money, was we didn't use credit at all for many,
for
many,
many
years, maybe
years, yeah.
15 years. We
Yeah.
did not own a credit card.
Right.
We bought something if we had the money. We bought
That's
a
it.
car with the money. We didn't go
we saved.
finance it. We saved, we'd buy a car. Oh, we need a second car? We saved, we bought a second car. If we didn't have the cash, we didn't get it. That was
buy
how
it.
we lived.
Yeah.
We started getting credit cards when we were traveling a lot and we couldn't
Mm-hmm.
rent nothing. If we wanted to rent a car when we were somewhere, we didn't have a credit card.
They wouldn't let you.
You couldn't even give them cash to hold. Nothing.
In America, they wouldn't let you if you
We
don't have a
couldn't
credit
rent a
card.
car.
You can't do nothing. You can't
So-
use your debit card.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
for
the only
years,
reason,
we
yeah.
had that mentality that if we didn't have the cash, we did not get it. And we
So-
lived that way for a
For
very,
a very
long time.
So what all that did, I don't know if that gained us money, but what it did.
No,
is it
but
stopped-
when we
it
had
stopped
hard
the
times, we
institution.
didn't lose anything because we
Right,
owned
'cause we
everything.
owned everything.
And we went through hard times like
Yes.
everybody else. And sometimes I said to him,
But we had no
damn,
bills."
I'm glad we own our cars because I don't know how we'd be paying for them now,
Yeah.
how we'd pay for this. We went through that. As you
yeah.
know, real estate has its ups and downs.
Right.
So I think that was our saving grace.
That was one of our saving graces.
Yeah.
Certainly that was that was a good pickup there, hon. I thought I lost you on this
Ooh,
discussion.
yeah, you were
but
starting to get, and I thought we're going to
was
go home
ready-
and fight after
I was
this.
ready for the fight.
I'm going to be sitting in the
believe me.
backyard all night.
Believe me, I was more than ready for this fight.
So-
I was sitting here getting boiling on her that
But
she
that
didn't
was,
answer my
we did
question
that
and
for a
joked
very
around.
long time.
That's very
Right.
true. So that was one thing.
And I don't feel like we missed out on anything,
No. The
except
thing
when we
is-
went to the States and we couldn't rent a damn car because I didn't have a credit card. That was
There
horrible.
were times when it was uncomfortable. There were, without a credit card, there were times when it was very
Well, it was a lot of
uncomfortable
things we
whenever
couldn't
went
do.
away. Yeah.
Like,
There was a lot, yeah. And so, but at the same time, if you really know what a credit card does to you, if
Oh,
you got
geez.
money
It's a
owing
money
on
sca-
your
you're
credit
paying
card,
interest twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the
we're
one
almost out of
game.
time, too.
That is the one game that you got to learn how to quit, and that's why I say you get a credit counselor or a financial advisor. You start down that path. There's a really unfortunate thing about money. If it's leaky, then you are going to lose. I remember one of the first things that we did when Jackie decided she
got
was
1
totally
minute,
in
babe.
love with me.
Oh, okay.
and wanted
That's
to
how it
marry
happened?
me,
That's
and
how
then-
it happened?
Remember, and you proposed?
That's how it happened?
Not exactly.
You didn't even propose to me.
You proposed to me.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Hell, I did
I'm
not.
just kidding.
You
Okay,
liar.
So, but when
Liar,
when
liar,
we
pants on fire.
When we decided we were going to go down that road, at that time we did have credit cards and things like that. So we decided that we were going to get serious and we were going to save money to buy a home. And so here we are, and that was our sort of immediate thing. So we started looking at all our bills and all our things. Do you know we had insurance on insurance? Like we had insurance on our credit cards that
yeah.
if you were to get in an accident on a Tuesday going south, that you would be covered. And then we'd have another insurance if you were going
Yeah.
west. And then, it was just insane. And we just got rid of all that stuff. We saved a bundle of money. And then what we do next, we stopped buying out coffee and stopped buying lunch. So that was something that Jackie didn't really like. It was to be taking her lunch and not buying coffee because that was something she enjoyed. And he says, yeah, but we got a family to build, so we got to go on the next one. So we stopped that. We started saving with that money. Then we went into RRSPs and we said, okay, let's get the biggest RRSP loan that we can get and let's pay that. And so we got that and we just kept chunking it and chunking and paying it off. Then we had that money to buy a home. And so we went through that process. As a matter of fact, I know the show's over, but I'm going to say this. Actually, we wrote down this big list of everything that we needed to
You're
do
out of
and to
time.
pay off for and everything in a list. About 12, 13 years later, we found it when we were moving
The
from
book.
Other Less. And in that book, all those things we had accomplished. And so there is a power, there's a magical power
You're
about
out.
going after your dreams. Don't let go of them. This has been your home, your money, and our lives on realityradio101.com. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Your Home, Your Money with your hosts, Randy and Jackie Rodney, right here on Reality Radio 101.